everyone, and welcome to week 6. This week we'll be looking at Photoshop and Illustrator together. Your discussion board is kind of an interesting topic on Photoshop fails. I think you'll have fun looking at all the different catalogs and advertisements and just how ridiculous they are actually getting nowadays. The view of perfection in the catalog's eyes, which turns out to be horribly done work. But anyway, let's look at Illustrator a little bit. I have this image that I took outside of my apartment, and Illustrator does this great thing called image trace. Now, it used to be that if you brought in, a photograph, a pixel image, you would have to take your pen tool and start outlining, creating shapes, filling it with color, and you'd have to just build and build on shapes to create it in a vector way. But now we can just do this image trace. You'll see there's a button here, but I like to actually open up the window. So if you go to Window and then Image Trace, brings up this nice window. This allows us to actually preview different options. So I like to click the preview on. It does take a little bit of time. Sometimes it might have to crank your computer for a little bit to see what's going on. But you can view tracing result is normally the best thing that I do unless you're going for a really outlined look. My image was black and white, but it had, variations in the grayscale. So I can even click color or grayscale to get those different shades. So you get this really cool layered image. Palette, you can kind of leave that alone. You can say how many colors do you want. You can specify. You can keep it a little bit more simple. If we bring it down to 2, we'll get very simple. And then this top, this is where you can really get some different styles and looks. We can do a high fidelity photo, which is going to try to make it look as close to the actual photograph as possible. You can go to a black and white logo, really kind of clears it up. Silhouettes. Line art is kind of fun. It just it sees a basic line. Very simplified. See if I can do it without crashing my computer. There we go. Not quite what you would have expected, but again, you can play around with the threshold. I really liked, I'm going to go with the high fidelity photo. I think that looks really nice. You're also going to want to take a look at this advanced section. If you click the arrow, you can kind of twirl it down. This talks about your paths, how you want the corners to be. Again, if you hold your mouse over any of the words, it'll tell you what it means. The main thing that you want to kind of pay attention to is this ignore white. It doesn't really work in my particular example, but if you had an image that was in a bounding box that was all white, you don't necessarily want Illustrator to convert that white into a white background. You just wanted your little logo or whatever. You would need to ignore white. Okay. And by doing the preview, it kind of already does the trace, so you don't have to click anything. So now we have this vector-based image that looks really nice. If you look up here with your image tracing, it says we did the high fidelity photo, we're seeing the tracing result, we can click expand. Now it looks like a crazy mess right now, but what that did was it took like every path that we had made and turned it into its own path. So you can actually now select different vertices and edit it. So let's say I wanted this highlight to, shoot out in one direction or something like that. We could move it, we could adjust it, grab specific anchor points. Okay. So, you might not want to get too crazy with editing this, but it would be a really nice addition that you could not only have the photograph the way that you want it, but edit it as well. Let's bring that back. Maybe oh, it would have been cooler if this top fence line went up higher, and you could click and select the top part of the fence. You have to go through your layers and select it, but might start off with a little bit more simple of an image trace if you're going to do some editing, but I'd love to see what you guys can do. All right, now let's take a look at real quick in Photoshop. So we had talked a couple weeks ago that color, based on light versus based on printing, we've got print or save for web, save for print. That's really RGB versus CMYK. And in one of your assignments, you're going to be asked to take a look at, a document that they've given you. But I just want to show you, for example, I'm just going to paint a few different colors to show you what I'm talking about. Let's do a red. And on a little bit of like a cyan color. Now, you might just be making your documents. I hope you are aware of how you're doing it, but you can go into Image. Well, first let me tell you, in your actual tab here, it'll tell you how you're making it. So currently I'm in RGB because I'd been doing stuff for web, but if we want to change this to CMYK, we can go to Image, Mode, CMYK. Okay, we're about to convert, so take a look at these colors. Can hit OK. Now the green didn't change too much, but did you see the levels in the brightness change? So it is different converting. So you want to always pay attention to what kind of document you have, what kind of color system you're using, and what your end output is. I'm not going to go exactly and do what your assignment asks, but it's pretty much the same thing. And then lastly, what you're going to want to do is bring the Illustrator. There's a file here for Southern New Hampshire, and you're going to need to bring it into Photoshop. I would love to see you guys do something more with this, whether it's creating a little bit more of a design in here or editing it a little bit. You do not have to. The main requirements are to bring this in and then edit in Photoshop, changing some color layers, something like that. But if you want to do some editing in Illustrator before you bring it over, that would be great as well. In your book, on page 448, it goes over exporting Illustrator files to Adobe Photoshop. It talks about smart objects, all that kind of stuff. So if you need more assistance getting this file into Photoshop, you can check your book, or as always, email me. I know we had some issues opening the file for the 25 boxes. Make sure that you're checking that sooner rather than later and letting me know so I can either email you a copy, I can try posting it again on the discussion board just after saving it from my computer. That seemed to work for some of you, but just double check all the files that you need to use this week. You guys have been doing a great job using Illustrator and getting your sites up and looking nice. I hope to grade them all by Wednesday, and then we can keep pushing through. We're getting towards the end of the term. So let me know if you have any questions, and I will talk to you later.